All right, today we're going to start absolute value equations. Now, listen, we've got 3 sections left in chapter 4. Okay, we'll do 2, 5, sorry, in chapter 2. We'll do 2, 5, 2, 6, 2, 7, and then we'll take a little quiz over those 3 sections. Okay, so the first of those is absolute value equations. Can anyone tell me, like, when you see the words absolute value, what that means? Or anything you know about absolute value?
Positive numbers.
Okay, positive numbers. True. Why? Why would that be?
Because it sounds right.
It is. When you take the absolute value, you do get positive numbers. But can anyone tell me why we get positive numbers?
Because you can't have negative.
True, but I'm wanting you to give me the reason.
Is that the long lines? It's the
Yes.
distance from 0.
Way to go, JC.
James freaking Charles. That's what's the...
Okay, so absolute value is the distance from 0. Is it possible for me to be negative 8 units away from 0? Yes or no?
Yes.
No.
No.
Right? Distance cannot be negative. I can't be negative 16 feet away from JC, right? I have to be positive 16 feet away, okay? So that's the reason absolute value is always positive, okay? So when we take the absolute value, we do always get a positive answer. Now, some people have to recognize the difference. There are cases where you could take the absolute value and then do something else to your answer, so your final answer may not end up positive. But anytime you take the absolute value of something, it's always going to be a positive number, okay? So we're going to do a few things today. We're going to solve absolute value equations. We're going to graph solution sets on a number line, and then we'll write an equation based off of a graph, okay? Hey, log in.
Lock in?
Yep.
If you're already locked, then unlock. Unlock back in.
I don't know about that, but all right. Okay. Every time, well, here's something else we have to talk about. How many different answers give you the same absolute value?
10 of them.
False.
2.
2, right? Give me an example, Callan, of 2 different numbers that give you the same absolute value.
7 and 7.
That's the same number. Hey, JC, do you want to answer? Yeah, but you know the answer, so why don't you tell us?
7 and negative 7.
7 and negative 7, right? Because 7 and negative 7 are both how far away from 0? 7 units, right? So 2 different answers give us the same absolute value. So how many answers do you think we're going to get when we solve absolute value equations?
Absolute. All 2.
2, right? So everyone needs to pay attention to this. I've got some of us that are kind of not with me right now, so get with me, okay? Every time we're going to write out 2 equations. Our first one is going to look exactly like this, but we're going to drop the absolute value. So what equation would that be?
Plus 3.
How would this look if I write this exactly the same, but drop the absolute value?
N equals 5.
Nope. I want it to look exactly the same, but drop the absolute value sign.
N plus 3.
Who's saying that? Reagan? Thank you. I want it to look exactly the same, but drop the absolute value. Correct? Doesn't that look exactly the same? Now, my second equation is going to look exactly the same, but instead of positive 5, what number would I use?
Negative.
Negative 5.
Why would that change?
Because each number, right, we just talked about, 2 numbers have the same absolute value. One's positive, one's negative, okay? So now all I have to do is solve these 2 equations for n, okay? Eric.
Do we have to do this?
Yes. Eric, how could I solve this left side over here for n? Yep. If I want to get n by itself, what would I do? We've just took a whole test over this, you guys. Huh? It is 1 n, but like what I'm asking you is how do you get rid of, like, how do I get n by itself? Plus 3. There we go. Okay, we just add 3 to both sides, just like we did last week. And I get n is equal to what, Eric? What's 5 plus 3?
8.
8. Okay?
468. Hey, I got it right.
All right. Jesus, what about on the other side? If I want to get n by itself over here, what's my only step to get n by itself? Plus 3 also. Now, what is negative 5 plus 3? Negative 2. So how many answers did I just get for n? 2. What are my two answers? 8 and negative 2. Okay. What if it asks you to graph those on a number line?
Then you put them on the number line.
Hey, do I need to move you two? I asked us a question.
No.
Okay, we better fix it. Because those are about to belong to me if it's going to be a problem. Okay, how do I graph my solution set on this number line?
Put 2.
Come on, you guys. This is not a trick question.
Put 8 and you got to graph an 8.
What do you mean, put 8? Like, be more specific. Put what there?
Not.
Okay. Just at 8
And
And
negative 2.
and at negative 2. Okay. Listen, I'm really giving you pretty basic stuff today. You're going to write two equations, you're going to solve, and you're going to get two solutions. Okay? We're going to walk through a couple more examples of this, and then I'm going to let you work on your own. Okay? All right. What about 8w plus 5 is equal to 21? So, every time before I start, I'm going to write two separate equations. Who can tell me what my two different equations will be? Callan?
8w plus 5 equals positive 41.
Good. I write it exactly like I see it. Drop the absolute value. What's going to be my second one?
You still want me to answer?
Sure.
8w plus 5 equals negative 21.
All I do is change my answer to its negative. Okay? All right. Aiden, can you tell me my first step to solve? Good. Anything that doesn't have a variable, we move over to the other side. So I get 8w is equal to, what's 20? Okay, 16. All right. What's my last step? Divide by 8.
2.
So I get w equals 2. Now, am I using these exact same steps on the other side? Minus 5 and divide by 8? Yes, but I'm going to get a different answer, right? Because what is negative 21 divided, or minus 5?
Negative 26.
Negative 26. And then what is negative 26 divided by 8?
I'm drawing a lake.
You have calculators. It's not a whole number. Jesus, what's 26 divided by 8?
Negative 3.25.
Good.
Good question.
So my two solutions here are w equals 2 and w equals negative 3.25. Now also, do you guys understand why for the last 2 weeks I've been telling you how important it is to understand solving equations? Because we're using it all day today, we're using it tomorrow, we're using it the next day, even though that's not specifically what we're doing.
365 more days.
That's, well, not that many.
180.
So good, Brady.
Okay, I think all of us obviously know where 2 goes. Who can tell me where negative 3.25 goes?
These students need to come to the office: Gage Huntington, Evan Paglasotti, Luke Farrell, McKinley Haggard, Marley Reed, Naomi Hernandez, Tristan Welch, Kate Smith, Chloe Thompson, Abby Pack, Delilah Johns, Garen Minter, Madison Ward, Jordan Richards, Lauren Holman, Alyssa Faust, and Brent Joyce.
Okay, go ahead, Colin.
Like right after negative 3 point, or negative 3.
Which direction?
Um,
To the left of it or to the right?
left.
Good. So right in here somewhere, negative 3.25. Okay. If you're ever not sure, start at 0, count to -3, and then you have to keep going to get to that 0.25. Okay?
Could you quit it?
All right. Simple enough. Yes?
Yes.
Do I need to go over extra examples of this type?
No. Nope.
Okay? Now, here's one thing I want to show you before we move on. Okay? Does anyone notice something about this example that we haven't seen on the last two?
No.
It's equal to a negative. And what did I tell you at the very beginning?
It has to be, or
Absolute
absolute value is always positive.
value is always positive. So is it possible for me to take the absolute value of this and get -3? No. So what would my answer be here?
No solution.
No solution. Okay? Remember, this is no solution. It's like a 0 with a line through it. If you want to put y, your answer is negative.
Right now, right there.
Okay? Now, should these be the easiest problems for you to solve?
Yep.
Yes.
You don't even have to
So
solve them.
every single time you're going to look, is my answer equal to a negative? Okay, then I can't have this. Now, the only time that wouldn't be true is if you have extra things here on the outside. But if you just have an absolute value with something on the inside, it cannot be equal to a negative, which is how we're starting off today. Okay, we don't have anything extra. So if yours is equal to a negative, no solution and go on. If it's equal to a positive, what do?
Whatever you did on those.
Write two equations and solve. Yes? Okay. Some of them ask you to graph, others just ask you to write the two and solve. Okay? All right, last part. We're going to write an absolute value equation. If they give us a graph, okay? So let's say they give us this graph. All right, so step 1, find the midpoint. What would be our midpoint here?
0.
How do you know that? Yeah, if we count 1, 2, 3, which we're counting by twos here, but 1, 2, 3, 0 is in the middle. Do we agree? Okay, so our midpoint is at 0. So we're going to find the midpoint and subtract it from x. Okay, now on this case, do I need to do x minus 0? Would we ever write x minus 0? No, because it doesn't change anything. So here we're just going to use the absolute value of x. Okay, and then point 2, we set it equal to the distance from the midpoint to each point. This is a lot to write down, but it's a lot more simple than this. Okay, so how far away is each of these points from the midpoint?
6.
6. So what do I set my equation equal to? 6. So all you have to do is find the midpoint, which I'll give you a couple more examples on this because this one's kind of is a little different because it's your midpoint is 0. They won't always be like that. You'll subtract that from x every time, whatever the midpoint is, subtract it from x, and then you just count how far is the midpoint from your endpoints. Okay? All right, let's do 2 more, and I think we'll be okay. Okay? All right, can anyone tell me how I could find the midpoint here? How? So start at each point and go in, right? What'd you get? Okay. Everybody see that? So I'm going to subtract that from x, so I'm doing x minus what? Minus -2. And then I'm going to set it equal to, how far is it from the midpoint to each point? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Agree? So I set it equal to 4. Now, is there anything I would want to fix on this for my final answer?
Yes.
What?
Parentheses.
Nope. Yeah, I don't ever want to leave a double negative. So I'm going to say this is x plus 2 is equal to 4. Okay,
That's the answer?
that's your answer.
You don't solve it?
Nope, not on these. It'll give you the number line and asks you to write the equation. Okay? All right, let me give you one more. Okay. All right. Anybody want to try this one? Somebody that hasn't gone yet? You already went today. One of my girls. Come on.
Peter wants to. Olivia it is. Peter, you want to do this one?
It's easy, Peter. I know it.
Alice, what about you? Paisley? You want to try it? What's the first thing you have to find?
The midpoint?
Okay, how would you find the midpoint, Paisley?
By seeing like it's in the middle.
Okay, so tell me what it 6, because I'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my midpoint is at 6. So that's the first part of my equation. What would it be? Absolute value of, what do I do with the midpoint?
That's your absolute value.
So do I add it to x or subtract it? Okay. So I get the absolute value of x minus 6. How do I know what to set it equal to? Yep. What's the distance from your midpoint to each endpoint? 4, right? So then I just set it equal to 4. Okay? Do we all understand that? Just find the midpoint, subtract it from x, okay? That's your absolute value. Set it equal to the distance, okay? Hello. I sure do. I will send him down. Yep. Bye. James, you can go to the office. All right. We are on page 105.
I'm moaning.
Wait, yours is the man